Oh! 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 What's up, chat? How are we doing today? I only saw 2 or 3 slot games at an absolute state of play. Lots of artsy-fartsy stuff, but interesting games nonetheless. The reason why the title of the stream is saying gaming is back on the menu is because this is like the first time in like maybe 6 years in which there was a state of play drop, and I was like, oh shit, it would have been cool for me to be actually watching that real time. I haven't felt that way about a video game preview commercial show in like 6 or 7 years, I feel. Big fan of your orc girls. There will be orc girls in this manga at some point, but not for a bit. But eventually, there will be orc girls. The fucking little girl game is real. It's a dead space with child backpack, not little girl stranding. Sorry, Kojimers. Once again, Capcom coming through. They knew what we all wanted. Honestly, this is like a prodigal son type situation in which learning that Pragmata was still alive and not cancelled somehow is like it hits harder than like just getting a new game reveal. Because it's like what was once lost is now found and brought home again. It's beautiful things. Why doesn't BB have a window AC unit? Because my room isn't properly insulated and I don't sit next to the window. And it's gonna get insulated pretty soon because we're gonna have renovations come in. So if it's still too hot, even after it gets insulated with renovations, then I'll buy a window AC unit. But right now I can't even open the window because of the Canadian wildfires. Smart. All these fucking games were waiting, buried beneath slop for 5 years. The question is why? Because we know why. Because these corporations want infinite money. And the shareholders are like, look at that Fortnite thing. I want that. So instead of trying to hit singles and doubles, they try and hit fucking home run grand slams and create the one financial property that's going to give them endless amounts of money for the next 30 years. And Sony as a publisher is especially guilty of this. Just look at how they were buying their corporations. Microsoft buys Minecraft, they're like, oh, we need our own Minecraft. We need our own GTA. We need our... I guess they never did their own GTA. We need our own fucking endless service shooter. Let's buy Destiny. Let's buy Bungie. We need our own fucking Star Wars IP. That's how you get fucking Concord. People have forgot of the whole concept of just making a good game. That's why we got here. But Capcom didn't forget. They were like, you know what would be sweet? If you were in space and you had a fucking lowly strapped to your back the entire time. It's simple yet beautiful. This is how I felt when I saw the reveals yesterday.
Thank you, man. Wow, that is delicious. Finally, some good fucking food.
Finally, some good fucking food. You guys sure took your goddamn time, didn't you? And I'm actually burying the lead because if anybody who listens to me endlessly talk on these stupid streams, they know I'm a massive Neo head. So I didn't even know there was a state of play until I went onto 4chan when I was taking a shit before I wanted to go to Planet Fitness and work out. Meticulously trying to avoid activating my hemorrhoid bleeding. And I checked 4chan V and people are talking about the Neo demo and what's going on in the demo. I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck? Is this, am I being trolled? I didn't even know there was a state of play. And instead there's like a fucking 4-hour Neo 3 demo just being dumped in my goddamn lap. So before I went to Planet Fitness, got on PS5, found the demo, which is always a problem. For some reason it's always hard to find demos in the PlayStation Store. Yeah. Good fucking food. Finally. It's good, guys. If you haven't been playing the Neo games, you should. 1 and 2 are my games of the previous console generation. My personal award I give out. And 3 is looking pretty fucking good. I tried Neo, but it felt like less interesting Dark Souls. Neo is Dark Souls with competent combat and actual character builds. What it lacks is the expansive lore. If you're someone who is like, oh, Miyazaki, 7,000 IQ, he's creating such a unique world, and you buy into that shit, then you don't get the same amount of lore. And also the level design is worse, but it has better combat and better large-scale character building and stuff like that. It also has an actually coherent plot that isn't just, oh, chosen one, here I am, an NPC sitting on this rock. I will inform you how I must go fight my nemesis. I must go on my personal quest. And you as the player, because this is the 30th time that it's happened, you're like, I wonder how this will end this time, Miyazaki-san. I wonder if this NPC will have a good time. And then 3 hours later, you find them disemboweled on a different part of the map, and they're like, oh, Ashen One, oh, I was wrong. I was wrong about everything. My faith has been destroyed. You're like, oh, wow. Such a grim, dark world. I sure haven't seen this one before. Please buy Final Fantasy Tactics. We're so sorry. I'm seeing that some people are excited about Final Fantasy Tactics, but for me that's actually the least interesting, because it's just proving that Square is incapable of making new IPs at this point, which is not a good sign if all you can do is nostalgia bait. I mean, Final Fantasy Tactics is probably best for someone like me who missed this opportunity to play it back in the day. But somehow I feel like I'd rather just play the original PlayStation version and just buy a CD and just play it in its original format. I don't know. So yeah, I haven't been getting much gaming done or drawing done this past day. It didn't help because I first started by being like, damn, I really want to play Elden Ring Night Rain, but I know it's both a waste of my time and money considering it's a $40 expansion. I really need to not play it. And I took that unfulfilled energy and instead reinstalled Bloodborne and started replaying Bloodborne. So I wasted about like 6 or 7 hours on Bloodborne, and then I was like, okay, I really have to stop this shit. I have to go work out and get back to drawing instead of replaying a game I've already played. And then I see the news that the Neo 3 demo had dropped, and it's not just like a 20-minute demo, it's like a fucking 4-hour demo. I'm like, fuck. Okay, well, we're getting behind now. Speaking of Final Fantasy, did you see the MTG crossover? Look at the prices for a good laugh. See, I don't even know whether the prices are going to be too high or too low. Because anybody who's still, I don't know, trading MTG cards in 2025 is either like a speculator or a massive dumbass. Also, Luminous was in the state of play. I don't know how many of you had a PlayStation Portable, but Luminous was kind of an absolutely must-buy kind of video game back in the day. I can't believe I have to say that. I don't know. I have to talk about the fucking PlayStation Portable as if it's like a Atari 5000 or some shit. But it was a long time ago, despite what my boomer ass thinks. It was the best-selling set of all time just from pre-orders, and I ain't touching that. See, it's impossible to tell how excited people are actually for the sets, and at what percentage of people are just being like, this is my college tuition for my child at this point. Being like, see how well this set sold. MTG is extremely popular is like being like, see how expensive Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is definitely usable as a real currency instead of a method of, you know, dark web money laundering. PSP still GOAT. I had both a DS and a PSP back in the day, and my DS got a lot more time being played on it because it had more games. But I never got into Monster Hunter at the time because it's just too uncomfortable to play on the fucking PlayStation Portable. Also, I had no friends to play Monster Hunter with, and also I was playing Etrian Odyssey on the DS. I hate scalpers with a passion, but it legit seems like people are that excited. I'll only buy your MTG set if it features a card of Kistis sitting alone in the cafeteria, pondering how her life went wrong after she tried to seduce one of her students and got rejected, and now she's an old maid that nobody will marry. The beloved scene from Final Fantasy VIII in which Kistis grieves over her lack of prospects as a woman. If you'll notice that you have 6 party members in Final Fantasy VIII, The entire game is about romance. Squall and Rinoa end the game as lovers, of course. But in the ending, we also get to see Irvine and Selfie flirting. And then Zell gets to date the NPC bookish girl in the library. And Kistis begins the game by being like, "Oh, Squall, I know you're my student, but I just stopped being a teacher. It's time for you to fuck me right now, right here." And Squall's like, "Psh, sorry, I'm not gay. No thanks, bitch." And then he dumps her. And then she ends the game without any romantic interests. Fucking hilarious. Where's IRL Quistis? Considering she's a blonde woman, I assume that she's become a massive Karen or something. I don't know. Women that hot in real life don't actually end up being single. That's why it's called Final Fantasy, not Final Reality. Ultimisia also single. Ultimisia is Rinoa, guys. Spoilers. Ultimisia is what happens when a woman is single in the endless time dilation. What infinite future, endless time does to a woman with no boyfriend. She goes back in time and tries to destroy the world. You could say that Squall is saving the future by properly fucking Rinoa. Ultimisia, the kind of woman who will suck your soul out through your dick. Who's the horniest woman in the Final Fantasy universe? Who gives the best blowjobs besides Cloud? Number one is probably Cloud, of course. Based on all my Cloud femboy hentai. Jessie, in the remake, she definitely is. I can't even remember. It's been so long since I played the original Final Fantasy VII. But I'm pretty sure they had like 5 lines in the first Final Fantasy VII, so... I don't think she was particularly horny back then. You ship Cloud Barrett? I don't actually ship anybody. Shipping is stupid. Also, Barrett is pure. We're not gonna sully his reputation by giving him any femboy porn. Vanille, yeah. In terms of how she looks, that's a girl that looks like she's pleases old men for money and enjoys it. She enjoys her job as a gyaru prostitute. But I don't give a single fuck about Final Fantasy 13, so... Yuna Riku? Yeah, Yuna doesn't know what sex is, even when she's dancing around as an idol. It might be Riku. Riku is meant for teasing incest sex with brother. Common Japanese doujin from the era would be like her brother being like, I can't believe I'm still a virgin. And then be like, hey Oni-chan, hey Aniki. What's up? We were just talking about how gaming has been saved. Before we started talking about Final Fantasy Sexo. I'm gonna say the Final Fantasy XIV Garuda is the sexiest and horniest girl in the Final Fantasy universe. This here. Bird sex. Oh! Ah! Ah! Clearly trying to make all of us into monster fuckers here, Square Enix. Good job. You've succeeded. Delicious cloaca. The sound is a little high. I can't tell actually, but by the way, my father is coming over this weekend, so probably around 11 a.m. or noon Eastern time on Saturday there will be a Boomer Father family stream, maybe, probably. Aubrey-chan is so cute. Guys, if you don't support this manga, you will not be getting any more wholesome childhood friend content. This is the big one, guys. This is the Aubrey episode. I need you all to give me all of your power and money. It's the only way. I was actually waiting for you to go live. You see that massive retard on Twitter? There could be so many. You know how little that narrows it down? You could be talking about any number of retards. That's like 80% of the population. Hell, you could be talking about me for all I know. Oh, Elon. Okay, the person who owns Twitter. Elon officially beginning his spat with Trump. Who could have thought that two grown man babies, self-centered narcissist fucks would not be able to get along for an extended period of time? I'm shocked. I was saying that they would have a falling out after a year, but obviously 6 months was more accurate. I way overestimated their ability to tolerate each other. I also thought that Trump would get sick of Elon before Elon would get sick of Trump, but I feel like the opposite happened. It's kind of hard to tell who initiated the falling out, but you knew it was coming, obviously. Like, there's no way these massive egotistical assholes would be able to tolerate somebody standing out more than them, so... Trump literally has no friends. Same for Elon, probably. They have to be number one in every situation they're in. So the fact that they were able to tolerate being like second fiddle to each other in different situations for more than like, I don't know, a year during the campaign is actually pretty impressive considering their personalities. Elon got pumped and dumped. I mean, I guess. Unlike all these other business owners like Bezos and Zuckerberg and stuff who are probably attaching themselves to Trump to make sure that they could protect their business interest and like taxes and shit like that. I'm not sure Elon had any concrete goals that he was trying to fulfill, so I don't even know if you should say that he got pumped and dumped. It's like he got to dick around as pretending like he was an elected official and he had some kind of presidential authority, and he tried to gut a shit ton of government organizations, which was deemed illegal, of course, but he was allowed to drive the massive bus that is the federal bureaucracy government funding machine for more than like a month. So I think that that more than pays for whatever he paid for the election. Nobody else gets to do that shit. This is the first time in like US history in which like you could like really buy your way into a position of like serious power. Like obviously you could donate shit to presidential campaigns in the past, but I don't think you would get cabinet positions in the same way that you would. And you certainly wouldn't get like a fake cabinet position created for you like Elon did. And get to name it after your fucking... Okay, can we take a second to pause? Nobody in traditional media talked about this, but how fucking lame is it that Elon literally has to name every single thing he does after either X, the letter X, or fucking internet memes to show off how, like, young and online he is all the time, as if that's something that you should be impressed by. Nobody in, like, the traditional media pointed out that Department of Government Efficiency, that acronym was specifically chosen because it's a fucking internet Doge meme. But it's absolutely cringeworthy that he has to do this for every single fucking thing. And nobody in this government should be taken seriously under any circumstance. Remember, Elon can actually leak government secrets, bro, of all the emotional immature retards. Why him? I mean, a lot of people can leak government secrets. If we're gonna elect Trump, who literally was leaking, like, troop positions and stuff in his first term... I don't like them either, but doesn't get tiring shitting on Trump and Elon every stream. I mean, once they stop doing shit that requires shitting on, I will stop shitting on them. There is a new development in the governmental soap opera, so we're talking about it. I don't have Trump derangement syndrome like the other liberals around me. The night before, my mother was watching content on Alec Baldwin and asking me if I knew what happened to him after his Rust trial, and all I knew was that he didn't go to prison. And my mom was like, I have a theory about this. I'm like, oh boy, I can guess what the theory is. She was like, I feel like Alec Baldwin was framed by Trumpists because he's a big liberal Hollywood actor. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, Mom, you're so unself-aware, but you're exactly the same as the Trump voters. We're all like, it's the massive liberal conspiracy, blah 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 blah. These people are so fucking unself-aware. Thanks to you, I've gone down the rabbit of shitty isekai web novels. If you can't read Japanese, remember that not only are you reading a shitty Japanese web novel, you're reading a worse version of it as well. So what was originally a 4 out of 10 web novel is instead like a 2 out of 10 or a 1 out of 10, because whoever's translating it probably is not a talented translator at all. Think of how much money American politics is saving you, though. You don't have to pay to watch comedies anymore. I think the lack of healthcare is probably gonna cancel that out, possibly. You see State of Play? Yeah, that was my opening rant, is that I think video games have been saved. Now that we have lowly Android running around on your shoulder and Neo 3. Let's fucking go. I was playing a bunch of Neo 3 last night. It's so fast. So it's actually interesting because I started playing Bloodborne because I was trying to prevent myself from buying Night Rain. So I've been going down the Soulsborne rabbit hole. And Bloodborne was like the fast game of the time, but when you go from Bloodborne to Neo 3, like one after the other, you're like, holy shit, Neo 3, you can zoom around fast. You are zippy, zippy, zippy fast. I don't know if the open world is going to be good or not, but the combat alone is enough. So if the level design suffers a bit from the open world setup, then I'll deal with it. Don't buy Night Rain. Yeah, I really wanted to like Night Rain, but I knew that I wouldn't because I don't like running around with a head with a chicken with its head cut off, which is what you have to do if you want to play these kinds of shrinking circle games. It's like the exact opposite way in which I want to play these type of Soulsborne games. It's like the full transformation from the original vision of Demon Souls, in which you had to go slowly, and if you went slightly too fast, then you'd run around a corner and you'd get jumped by like 10 gank mobs after you were distracted by a shiny object. And you get fucked over, so you would play slowly and methodically with your shield. And now after DLC, Femboy Radon shooting lights everywhere, just lasers out of his ass. And now Night Rain, in which you're not allowed to stop even for a second. You have to run around like you're playing PUBG. We've sort of finished the journey from going of Soulsborne as a thinking man strategic action game with not much action to a just like hyperactive ADHD. It seems like every game has to go in the ADHD direction. Nothing goes slower. Am I the only person who never practically liked the Dark Souls combat? The original Dark Souls combat is clunky as fuck, and the fact that they were able to make it better progressively after every game. Like, if you actually play, like, I've said I was just playing Bloodborne, it's actually pretty fucking clunky now that I play it how many years later. How many years has it been since Bloodborne came out? Like, 12? When did it come out in? 2013 or something? I can't remember. But, you can tell that shit has progressed quite a bit since then. It's only been 10 years? Fuck. It feels like forever. Graphically, it still looks great, and the atmosphere is amazing, but the combat, there is some clunkiness to it. Also, the suspension of disbelief when you can see a place that you want to go, but the only thing preventing you from going there is a banister fence that's like the height of your shins, and you're like, no, there's no jump button. I can't go there because I can't fucking jump. Is pretty silly. I understand that it allowed From Software to do more interesting level designs, but it was always a pretty stupid thing that you couldn't jump even in the slightest amount. I can't even shit on Bloodborne, it's that good. Unfortunately, none of the people in chat will ever... They will never ever get to play it because they only have PCs, LMAO. Surely someday Bloodborne on PC will be a real thing. Also, it probably should be on PC at some point because the frame rate is still atrocious. Even though I'm playing on my PS5, I don't think they can actually improve the frame rate. It might be, like, hard-coded. I hear that a lot of the Souls games have the frame rate is connected to a lot of the concepts of the video game, so that they actually can't change the shitty-ass frame rate. Who is Pigtails-chan? That is Aubrey in her youth version, Aubrey. The double twin tail hairstyle only allowed for young girls and girls who want to be idols and stuff like that. There's a lore reason for locked 30 frames per second. It probably is. I've seen enough speedrunners to know that frame rate often like is directly related to how the game runs, and like when you start fucking around with the frame rate, you can do weird ass shit like make your character teleport across the map and stuff. So there probably is some sort of like technical setup for the lore. You just like Bloodborne because you're Japanese and Japanese people like Cthulhu, Victorian, Eldritch horror type shit. You're not fooling anyone. I feel like Bloodborne really allowed Miyazaki to be creative with like the bullshittery. Like there's a bunch of tone shifts in the game throughout the game, which are extremely Kino. It probably has one of the strongest opening segments of any of the Souls games as well. Just going into the town of Yharnam and everyone being like, away, away! This town's finished! Classic voice acting. For once, not having everyone be undead, you know? Bloodborne has everything. The only criticism you could level at it is the dead multiplayer. One complaint is that there's not enough dex weapons and not enough arcane weapons. As someone who played through the entire game with a strength weapon, and it has always been a strength chad for playing Bloodborne. Love me Kirkhammer, love me Axe, Love me Whirligig Saw. And now in my second playthrough, I'm like, I should try out some of the Dex weapons. Fucking hate the Threaded Cane. Not a huge fan of the Saw Cleaver. I was using the Saw Spear for a bit. I mean, the Saw Cleaver isn't really Dex. Like, what's the best Dex weapon in Bloodborne? It's the Katana, right? Folded 10,000 times, Chikage or something. I haven't touched any Blood Tinge or Dex or Arcane. And if you want to play Arcane, there isn't any like spell casting, so you have to use like the Cthulhu Tentacle, right? I hear Arcane builds in Bloodborne are just absolute ass, so I haven't really been trying, but it's that fucking katana. It's like the one katana, right? Yeah, I don't want to wait until I get to the fucking Maria Clock Tower before I get my good Dex weapon. So if I don't like the Threaded Cane, I think I'm stuck with playing like Balance. Right now I've been leveling Ludwig's sword, and I've been planning to switch to the my Moonlight Blade. Oh, you've been here all along beside me. My guiding moonlight. That one, because I've never used the Moonlight Blade in any of the From Software games, actually, despite it being memed constantly. Usually by the time you get it, it's sort of like outclassed by whatever other weapon you found. Blade of Mercy is the best sex weapon. That's the Crow lady's weapon, right? Another problem with playing Bloodborne or any Souls game blind is like you can never remember whether you're properly like clearing all the NPC quests, because it's like, shit, did I remember to check that corner of the map? Oh, I missed them. Now they've gone insane. I think Eileen the Crow or something, I forgot her name, goes insane no matter what you do, but Arcane is actually really good, but you need to farm gems for years to get to that level. Yeah, I'm not going to do any of the random dungeons this time. I might do a 1 or 2, but I'm trying not to waste a million hours playing video games. In fact, instead of playing Bloodborne again, I should probably be playing Rise of Ronin, because I want to finish all of the Team Ninja games before Neo 3 comes out. I just finished Wolong. Wolong is definitely the weakest of the Team Ninja Soulsborne games, without a doubt. The effects of Sekiro has been disastrous on the industry. Everybody is just copying From Software. So when they publish a game in which all you have to do is press R1 so you can go ching 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 ching, then suddenly everybody, including freaking Doom, are like, we need to have a parry mechanic. And now all you have to do on defense is just press the button at the right timing. It's pretty awful. I really hope they don't make Neo PS exclusive. I would cry. Apparently the Steam page already shows that it's going to be a simultaneous PC release. I don't think any of the Team Ninja games have been console exclusive, right? I think you're fine. Do you feel drawn to drawing like you do gaming sometimes? I feel that way with coding. If I don't draw for about like a day and a half, I'm like, I have to draw something immediately. But now that I'm trying to go pro as a mangaka, it's even stronger. If I'm video gaming for like more than 2 or 3 hours, I'm like, I'm wasting my life. What the fuck am I doing? I have to draw right now. I feel better drawing, not gaming. The problem with gaming is that unless you want to be like a pro fighting game player or something, you know that no matter how good you are at the video game, all the improvement and accomplishments you're making in the video game, you know that they're actually like just you wasting your time. they're not really transferable skills. There's like some transferable skills, but not much. When that game ends, all your skills that you accomplish within that game die with it. Whereas with drawing, the game never ends, so... all the accomplishments and victories you get to experience in games have been provided to you because, you know, games are built to be winnable in most cases. They're hollow victories. And if you have a hard life in which you're, you know, have a real job and you're actually doing shit in the real world, then that's okay. You can get a nice pat on the back by being good at a video game. But if you're someone like me and, you know, you're not actually going to the office or going out into the world and doing an actual job, then, and you're like, oh shit, I've been gaming for 6 hours. The sense of like, what the fuck am I doing with my time is very strong. Especially when you're hitting 40. I mean, it's hard to lie to yourself at that point. You're like, holy shit, I'm wasting my life. That being said, I'm still a gamer, so sometimes the urge to game becomes too strong, especially when a new video game like Night Rain comes out. And if you want to resist buying a $40 game that definitely is not worth $40, you end up reinstalling Bloodborne, so that was what was going on. Most men have hard lives, I can't complain. I mean, if you're living in a country with internet, you're probably already doing better than a large percentage of the people on the rest of the planet. If you have good enough internet to watch this stream, you're already in the winning group, if you ask me. What are you gaming? So, I've been trying not to game, but I've still been gaming. Yesterday was Bloodborne. Besides that, I've played about 20 hours of Balatro in the last month, and I've also been playing Warhammer Boltgun. Both Balatro and Boltgun were included in the PlayStation Plus for this month. Balatro in particular is extremely addictive to me. So I have been trying very hard not to play it because it's a game in which I can be like, oh, I'll just do one run. I'll be done with a single run of this roguelike in 20 minutes. And then it's like 7 hours later. I'm like, what the fuck happened? Where did my day go? So yeah, I make sure to uninstall my Balatro from my PlayStation every single time I play it. So if I want to play it again, I'm forced to reinstall it. That hasn't stopped me from playing it entirely, but it's prevented it a little bit. It's addictive. It's like, it's extremely addictive if you're addicted to roguelikes, and it's combined with like aspects of poker gambling, so it has a lot of stuff to get your juices flowing. If you don't have a lot of free time and you don't want to waste all of your day playing a poker-based roguelike, then yeah, it's pretty dangerous. It's sad that Bloodborne is still in 30 frames per second. I'm pretty resistant to bad frame rates in video games, and even anything above like 40 frames per second is usually fine for me. In fact, 30 frames is fine, but I was playing Bloodborne and it was actually hurting my eyes because there's so much detail and yet the frame rate is so bad. I think it's 30 frames per second is being generous to Bloodborne, honestly. I think it's way closer to like 20. It's like 30 frames per second on a good day. I mean, the amount of detail and art assets on the screen at any single point in time is super high, so I can understand why they have difficulty keeping the frame rate consistent. I mean, it's definitely in the space in which it looks too good to be a PlayStation 4 game, but not good enough to be a PlayStation 5 game, which would explain why the frame rate is awful. Balatro Dev has made the statement that the IP will never be sold to gambling companies, which is nice. I hope they made enough money to, you know, not have to do that, because, like, fuck all the gambling. I thank God every day in 2025 that I wasn't born with a genetic tendency to be addicted to gambling and games of chance. Because, like, if you're watching the NBA playoffs, especially sporting events, but pretty much anything on TV right now, think how many fucking gambling ads you see every single day. The way in which society is trying to get Americans to waste all of their money on gambling is insane. If you actually had a gambling addiction and addictive personality, you would be so fucked, because you have to have a cell phone at all times. Even if you want to just, like, do basic shit in society, like sign into shit, they're like, oh, you have to have a cell phone for an authentication number, right? But having a cell phone means you can gamble anytime your entire life, at any point, 24/7. Why are one-man dev teams so fucking talented? It's the same reason why Japanese manga is better than American comics. If you have one talented person who can do multiple things, then it's much easier to have an unclouded vision of what you want to create. The more people you have on a product, unless you have like a really good director, the more easy it is for that thing to sort of lose its way and to not come together. If you have a writing... I mean, look at the fucking credits on these American AAA video games that are like literally 2 or 3 hours long. That have like 500 writers and 12 different directors and shit like that. Every time you bring a new person into the pipeline to do something, there's a chance of them fucking something up. This is why we all love Toriyama just drawing Dragon Ball by himself. Yes, Concord is the ultimate example of this, of course. If any project has 5 different directors or whatever and they keep on getting fired and getting a new director, it's obviously not a good sign. $400 million, by the way. I think the 400 million number that we're seeing is actually being optimistic. I bet it was more than that. Because it was like 8 fucking years. People might be being generous to Concord with that number. That's the crazy thing. I'm obsessed with modern artisan renaissance men like solo devs. Animal Well is also badass. I mean, you're saying it's a modern thing, but this is how we used to make video games back in the day. It was like 2 or 3 guys. And now we have all these extra tools that allow indie people to make them alone, but it always was something that we could do alone. AAA developers just forgot that. I think one interesting question is, if you're a solo dev, what is like your actual specialty? Is it going to be... It's obviously not going to be programming, because you don't really need to be able to program. But if you look at stuff like Undertale, Toby Fox is like a music guy. If you look at Helltaker, I forgot his name, Van Ripper is a art guy, like a drawing guy, and so on. It's like different people in the art pipeline also figure out how to code a little bit, and they might have one other person to do the music or do like the drawings or something like that. Doom was made by 6 people. Think about that. The good old days, boys. Eric Barone, Stardew, and Billy Basso Animalwell are really good programmers. Are they? I mean, I guess Stardew isn't using like RPG Maker or anything. It's probably like using its own assets and stuff. It's just that there's so many tools nowadays that I feel that programming is usually the part that's easiest to bypass. Whereas having some amount of unique assets, I think, ends up being more important to make your video game stand out. So a specialty is important. I mean, I think it's possible to be like balanced. But I don't know what the good example of that would be. Like someone who is a little good at everything. Obviously, every single one of these people have to be somewhat of an idea guy. Or else they wouldn't want to make a video game in the first place. So that's sort of a given. That's like the base level floor. But what is your like specialty besides being an idea guy? You still need programming, especially if you're crafting something to specifications. Not for my hentai RPG Maker hentai game, in which is focused specifically on women pissing themselves. I will do all the artwork and have x-ray views of women's bladders and how full they are. And depending on the combat system, there'll be certain scenarios in which they'll be forced to pee. This is my billion-dollar idea, guys. Omorashi RPG. I spent 13 years grinding art and programming. My time is now surely copium. I mean, it might actually be. Who the fuck knows? You might be a billionaire in the making. Look at all these indie devs that were like broke Polish people a week ago, and then they released one popular ass game. And they don't have to work again. It's crazy. You need a bit of programming in RPG Maker. Gotta brush up on that cursed JavaScript to make the piss tiles transform to yellow. Pshh! Dame! Omorashi shichau! Ah! I mean, going back to State of Play, I forgot that the new Silent Hill game is being written by Ryukishi. For those of you who don't know, that's the Higurashi visual novel author. Like, he's someone who made it, who literally all he could do was write. And I'll just go ahead and say his writing isn't that good. It's decent, but it was unique enough. I mean, is it time to bring up the Ryukishi official art? Here we go, boys. Holy Soul. This is the ultimate in the soul versus soulless comparison. Original Ryukishi hands versus whatever anime slop you get. Look at that fucking soul right there, boys. How old was he when he drew this? Probably in his 20s. I don't know. It's not a 14-year-old making Higurashi, if that's what you're saying. Reminder, Ryukishi chooses to draw like shit. No, he does not. He just draws like shit because that's what happens, because drawing is hard. That doesn't explain how the town of Silent Hill, which is in America, will be in Japan now. Silent Hill is in all of us. It's in our hearts, guys. It's like a psychological thing. I don't know. I've never played any Silent Hill games besides 4. That's it. So I couldn't fucking explain. Apparently it's located in Niigata, the newest Silent Hill video game, and so is Higurashi and stuff as well. So I guess he has a real big thing for the Niigata prefecture. You never played Silent Hill 1 through 3? Those are masterpieces. I don't care about horror that much. I feel like there's a serious problem with horror in video games, and that's horror is all about like not understanding what's going on and not having much control over what's around you. And the moment that you have like proactivity in a video game, it's no longer scary. So I only play horror video games where I'm not actually trying to find spookiness in them, like Resident Evil. Resident Evil to me is just a ammo collecting simulator and a stare at Claire's ass and jeans and Jill's boobs simulator, so... I've never been interested in the Silent Hill games because they're like, you know, they're about atmosphere and spookiness. I guess you could say that Silent Hill 2 or whatever is a look at bubblehead nurses and jack-off simulator, if we're going by the same standard. I was legitimately scared by PT, rest in peace Kojima, but I assume I wouldn't have been scared after a while if I had gotten used to the scenario. But that, I think because PT was just walking in a circle. It wasn't proactive. You didn't have to understand anything, right? And it was so short, so there was really no time for you to get unscared of the scenario. It was always fresh because it was only like, you know, 15 minutes long, 20 minutes long. That's why it's like the best horror game of all time. In contrast, if I try and play something like Outlast, I'm gonna be thinking about like the mechanics and stuff. So it's just not scary. That's why I think that stuff like movies and especially like books and stuff are probably the superior medium for stuff like horror. Outlast is just run and hide, LOL. Yeah, but like, you're thinking about like your positioning and mechanically, like, how am I gonna run and hide this time, you know? Like, once you start thinking about the mechanics of like how you're gonna beat this segment, then you're no longer being scared. It's like a different mindset. It just goes, it doesn't go well together because you can't be like completely helpless in a video game. Also, stuff like camera movement is so important in horror. Like, if you watch a horror movie, the director is, of course, super aware of where he's going to place the camera and shit. So once you allow the player to move the camera, then you also have a ton of problems because you can't do jump scares as well. The best you can do is sort of create a spooky atmosphere and kind of hope for the best, which I think Bloodborne does a good job. Just by listening to all the yowling and stuff, that's pretty horrifying. It's not actually scary, but it's like great atmosphere. Top 10 iconic screams in Soulsborne series.
Now, there are a lot of garbage ranking videos on this.
Remember that sound? That's the pig.
For number 9, Dark Souls jump scare.
Cleric Beast needs to be number 1.
Dark Souls 3, Falling Death.
That's a good question. I like Vicar Amelia. Vicar Amelia theme with screams. I like how high-pitched she is. I like how it sounds like she's saying, "You!" Number 1, the one I made when I found out you couldn't romance the doll in Bloodborne. You can romance the doll in Bloodborne. What do you think the like, becoming a old one ending is? You become a, I don't know, space slug, parasite, space god, and you get nursed by your doll mommy. It's literally the best ending of any Soulsborne game, is becoming a slug and being held. Would you still love me if I was a worm ending? You're not a worm, you're literally a god. Best fucking ending of all time.
I've seen Bloodborne's 3 endings referred to as the good, bad, and true endings, but is that right? The good ending, where you awaken from the dream, seems to be the path that Eileen and Jura took, and they're still around during the hunts. Sure, they've taken control of their own humanity, but now they've got to face the night with only one life. The bad ending sees you take Gehrman's place in the dream and facilitate the nightly hunts, so that's pretty accurate. And the true ending sees you personally transcend the hunt by becoming a baby Great One, but who knows what you'll do after that. Our puny human brains can't even begin to comprehend the moral calculus of such an eldritch being.
Who knows what you'll do after that? I'm gonna be sucking on the doll boobs, duh. I know exactly what I'm doing there, boy. We're nursing ourselves. Spoilers. That's me, by the way.
Are you cold?
Are you cold?
Oh, good hunter.
Best ending ever. Become an alien bug slug to impregnate boobies according to hentai. Not just hentai. It's also according to the game. Women get impregnated during the Bloodborne and just like playing Call of Cthulhu. Also, you don't like doll joints? What are you, gay? We all know what how sexual doll joints are. You know all about playing Call of Cthulhu being Japanese, huh? I've only read a small amount of Lovecraft and I've never played Call of Cthulhu, so I'm not that Japanese, obviously. Here's my impression of every Lovecraft related stuff. Oh my god, I'm going insane! That's Lovecraft in a nutshell. Oh my god! It's beyond our understanding as humans! Oh! I can't take it anymore! The real question is, the doll have boobs? Sort of. People all over Ronnie, but before Ronnie there was the doll. I forgot how much of a loving mommy character the doll is, actually. Because it was only on PlayStation, I feel like she's become underrated. But just replaying it, even in the first few hours, you find the abandoned workshop in the real world, and you like give her the hairpin, and you give it to her, and she starts crying, suddenly discovering her feelings as a human or whatever. And she was like, she also asks you, could you love me, a doll? Yes, I love you. Isn't that how you made me? I was like, holy shit, she just said she loves me. Mission accomplished. I don't think I have to complete the video game. Isn't that all we actually want as men? Large, tall, dommy mommy doll saying that she loves us. Ronnie is also a doll, yeah, in her current version. Small, own a hole, waifu. Realistically, she's probably pretty large in her original body. Firekeeper. I think my number one is still Maiden in Black, because I started with Demon Souls. I also like how, you know, when you come back, here's an image. Notice the feet are moving. She's sitting on the stairs, and then she does the feet going up and down, like sort of kicking feet in the air. That's the Kino moment of Maiden in Black. I still think she's the best waifu. Also, most clearly sexual. She's always asking you to touch the demon inside her. It's most obviously a metaphor for sex, so I like it the best. My favorite design is probably Melina. I was flashbanged by her reveal during some gameplay trailer. You're the only one, guys. I was watching Japanese Elden Ring RTAs, and there were all these people pretending to be Melina in the chat, being like, yes, I am the main girl. From Software, despite delaying the game, not making it so that you had to talk to Melina every single time you wanted to level up, and having her travel with you at every single site of grace, was just a massive wasted opportunity. Like, it would have been so easy for them to implement. You don't have her to say anything. You just need her to be sitting there at the site of grace every single time. Then you would actually feel like you're going on a journey with her. And then when you get to the mountain and you have to turn her into kindling, it would actually be like a really big deal that you're like setting fire to your girl. They could have had a super important moment with her, like emotionally poignant moment in terms of writing, if they had properly done that. And yet it was just a massive wasted opportunity right there. It was probably Miyazaki being like, oh, I'm not allowed to have her be barefoot, then I have no interest in this woman. Cut it. Melina wasn't that big of a deal. They should have made her into a big deal. That's the problem. It was a failure. I think it was intended for Melina to follow us until the internet started making fun of Miyazaki and liking feet, so he took it out. He still gave us more barefoot women, though. I think they were just super busy, and they were just like, we don't have time to do this, probably. That's probably more realistic. Remember, what's her name? Blade of Makilla. There's too many M names. Now that we said Melina, I'm like, no, not Melina. Fuck. God damn it. Melania, yeah. Jesus Christ, George R. R. Martin. Fuck George R. R. Martin, man. I think it's pretty obvious that he didn't contribute shit to Elden Ring. Write your goddamn novel, George R. R. Martin. All he contributed was like some incest lore, that's it. He did not make the game better in any way. Toxic swamp and crustaceans take priority. You have to admit that the crabs and lobsters, especially in Elden Ring, are just peak Kino. The time when you fight the lobster for the first time, just a great gaming moment. I'm surprised Armored Core 6 doesn't have any crabs or bare feet in it. No poison swamp in Armored Core 6. Crazy. I can't even believe they were allowed to release a From Software game without a massive poison swamp that your Armored Core mech gets stuck in. The lobsters were fucking terrifying, but not as bad as the bears. If you saw a bear coming in Elden Ring, you're just like, I'm gonna die now. There's no point in even running away. I'm just gonna expire. I really hope we get another Armored Core. We'll probably get one, but it'll be in like 6 years probably, so you have to make sure you don't die. Like in real life, you have to not die for 6 years before you get your next Armored Core. That's the thing. Back in the day, you know, you would get a new video game immediately, but now you have to be like, I have to make sure I stay healthy for the next decade so I'll be able to play the next release of my video game. At least the Team Ninja are shitting out games quickly. I mean, when did Rise of Ronin come out? It was like fall last year. And we're already getting Neo next year. Yeah, okay, it came out in, yeah, it was, the PC release was the end of 2024, so it's basically a 2-year turnaround for a big-ass game. Neo is going to be huge. So the fact that they're spitting it out at the speed that they are, basically close to what you would expect from like a PlayStation 2 development speed or so, is very good. Is Ronin good? I have not played Ronin. I've been waiting for it to go on sale. See, I'm not a huge Bakumatsu era history buff, so I don't think I'll be able to enjoy it as much. I always thought that there's a lot of Japanese Bakumatsu history buffs who absolutely love that time period. And I can sort of see why, but I never thought it was that interesting. Japanese love the Shinsengumi so much. They think it's so fucking cool. Shinsengumi is like the Tom Clancy, my name is Jack Johnson, I'm a government agent version of the Edo Bakufu period. That's like from my Gintama series. There's also a lot of overlap with Fujoshi as well for Shinsengumi. But of course there's overlap with Fujoshi for literally everything, so I guess that doesn't mean much. Get Neo 2 again, LOL. I replayed Neo 2 last year, and I had so much difficulty with Neo 2 on my first playthrough, and when I was playing it in my second playthrough, I was just absolutely fucking steamrolling it. And I was like, damn, I guess I've gotten better at these games. Same thing for Wolong. I thought I would have a lot of difficulty with Wolong, because I have pretty bad reflexes. So a game that's centered around parrying, I was like, this might be get ugly. But instead I found it actually way easier. And part of it is that, well, the parry timing frame window is pretty high, but I think it's just because I've gotten used to Team Ninja game, the timings on everything, so it wasn't that difficulty for me. But I was never good at parrying in like Neo and stuff, like the one cat parry skill tree. I was always pretty bad at that. We need more games set in the Taisho era. Raido is the only one I can think of. You're forgetting the most obvious one, the best Taisho era. It's Sakura Wars, baby, but I guess none of you have played Sakura Wars because it was only recently ported into English or something. But Sakura Wars is peak Taisho era Kino. Sakura Wars? You don't know Sakura Wars? Sakura Wars is one of the Sega masterpieces. Actually, let's find the PlayStation version, because it has great fucking animation. It also has one of the best soundtracks of all time. Da, 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 da. Apparently they spent like millions and millions of dollars on the animations. There's also mandatory lolis in every single game. You also fight in space with your weird steampunk powered robots. So this is the one set in Tokyo that was originally on the Sega Saturn, because it was a Sega property. It starts on Sega Saturn. Sakura Taisen 1 and 2 are on Sega Saturn. And then in Sakura Taisen 3, it goes to Dreamcast. And they've all been ported to PlayStation. This is the GOAT one, even better than the number one. This is the Paris version. You'll see what I'm talking about because there's a line dancing scene. Remember, when they're spinning the camera, someone had to fucking animate that. Look how often they rotate the camera in non-CG situations. This is CG, so it's not as hard, but it's still, you know, at the time it was pretty impressive. This is what I'm talking about. The way they start to bring out the skirts. This one right here, this shot. They were like, we need someone to fucking animate the can-can. But like, pre-CG, I've never seen anything in animation where I'm like, how the fuck would you draw this as much as this shot right there? Where they have 5 characters, they're moving the camera, they have to animate the fucking skirts, and then they bring the camera back. Apparently that opening alone basically costs the same amount as like the budget for the rest of the game or some shit like that. So this was like pre-CG and shit for him. So basically it was probably like one animator, because there's usually not like multiple people who can animate that. They basically are like, we need one person to do this shit for us. So Sakura Taisen was one of Sega's big properties back in the 90s, but it's like a combination of like steampunk. It's a dating sim. It's a dating sim set in the Taisho era, in which you date these different girls, and then your affection rating with them affects how well they do in the combat strategy segment afterward. But it's beloved because it had like the best fucking opening songs of all time. And then, like, the characters were actually likable. And they tried to reboot it recently with the Bleach author Kubo's character design. And the character design was good, but Sega skimped on the budget, and everyone was basically unsatisfied. So it hasn't been able to re-reach its the heights it reached in the 90s, unfortunately. But I have a lot of fond memories of it. They also have a Sakura Taisen 5, which is set in New York. It has a woman called Sajita Weinberg, who is a lawyer. She's supposed to be black, but it's unclear why she also has a Jewish name and a Native American first name. Ball talking his shit. This is the part, you know your shit, man. This stuff is pretty famous in the Japanese section gaming part of the world. Sakura Taisen is probably one of the more famous among the Japanese dating sims out there. I'm not one of the true otaku who have like 500 garuge on his bookcase where the giant eroge boxes, but back in the day, you know, dating sims were huge. They had stage shows running for a long time. They might still have them. I'm not sure. Stage shows go on forever, you know, so. The Japanese love their stage shows. Was Sega still Nintendo's gimp back then? I know this is hard to believe, but there was a time when Sega and Nintendo were competitors. Not, you know, being the fuck slut of Nintendo, putting Sonic on every Nintendo console. Sega should have won! We're living in the wrong timeline, guys. People say that the timeline split when Harambe was shot, but the real timeline split was if the Dreamcast had succeeded, we could have changed this cursed timeline. We need to go back in time and support the Dreamcast before it's too late. The Genesis beat the SNES for like 6 months. I mean, the Genesis had like legitimate advantages over the SNES and stuff. They didn't have like way better, I forgot what processing. It had like a better CPU didn't it? And it also had like really good music cards and stuff. I can't remember specifically what made the Genesis better because my mom never bought me, you know, the video games back then, but it's I know there was a lot of like if you wanted fighting games, I believe they were way better on the Genesis. Same for the Sega Saturn. I know that the Sega Saturn would run stuff like Street Fighter versus X-Men and shit way better than it would run on like PlayStation 1 and shit. It was definitely like the fighting game console for some reason. The Dreamcast, N64, and GameCube are overrated, I fear. I mean, all of them had a very limited library with a few games that are extremely fondly remembered, but because the total number of games on it were very few, if you actually owned it as your primary console, you wouldn't be getting many games. You couldn't have it as your primary console for any of those three, I would say. As someone who grew up with an N64 before I got a PlayStation 1. When I finally got a PlayStation 1 on Christmas or some shit, I can't remember, it might have been my birthday. It was like, holy shit, there's so many games, what the fuck? Because on an N64, man, you played like the 3 10 out of 10 games, like Ocarina of Time, and then you were kind of done. Everything else was a 7 out of 10. Whereas the PlayStation 1 had so many more other games from like third parties. You were completely starved for games if you were on the N64. How is Dreamcast overrated? No one bought it and there's like 5 games on it. There's people like me who are like, it was a better time. But there were quite a few good games on it, I would say, actually. It had one of the best RPGs of all time in Skies of Arcadia. It had, you know, Garuge, like Sakura Taisen 3. It was when Sonic entered the 3D realm. A lot of people still love Sonic adventure games. It had like Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and Power Stone. You guys remember Power Stone? Power Stone Rouge. Remember character design from peak Capcom back in the day? They were just like, here's the mandatory female character for our fighting game. And she becomes a sexo genie. Look at the fucking nipple magnet character design in her super mode. Just taking all the semen. It was sort of like a party brawler on Dreamcast. It wasn't like a 2D fighting game. You would sort of run around the map. It's called Power Stone because you would collect like energy pickups. It was like in how in the Marvel Superheroes Capcom Fighters you would pick up Infinity Gems and stuff. They sort of expanded on that idea. So there was a lot of just like running around. It wasn't a great fighter, but it was more of a party game fighter, I would say. It was in the same category as Smash in my mind. Nipple covers are underutilized. I'm not a huge nipple cover fan, which is why I don't like the reverse bunnies. But I'll make a exception for genies. Genie women are allowed to have nipple covers and stuff. I'm okay with that. I give them permission to have nipple covers. But in general, I don't like pasties. Yeah, that's right. It also had Shenmue. It also had the first online stuff. It had online. Sonic had stuff like virtual pets with chows. It was just a real... It was really ahead of itself in terms of the type of shit it was trying to do at the time. It's sort of like how you'll find kids, or maybe people my age, feeling really nostalgic about Xbox Live in the early stages of internet gaming. Because it was a period in which there was a lot of innocence and promise, even if the quality wasn't super high. It was before everything became commercialized and, you know, yucky. It was just pure joy because the video game was still a toy. And the Dreamcast really did feel like a toy, the controller that you were using and stuff. Is Shenmue really the first open world game? I mean, how do you categorize open world? I mean, we were just talking about N64. In Ocarina of Time, you get to run around Hyrule. Is the giant field in Hyrule and Ocarina of Time not an open world? What counts as open world and what isn't open world? I have never actually played Shenmue. It sort of skipped me by. I didn't get the chance. Don't confuse open world and sandbox. How open does a world have to be for it to be an open world game? I guess is the question. Was GTA before Shenmue? I'm pretty sure it wasn't. Maybe it was. If GTA 3 was before Shenmue, then I would give it to GTA 3. September 6th, 2001. Okay, it was 1 month before Rockstar. So if we're gonna say Shenmue is the open world game, then it beat Rockstar by a month, but it obviously didn't influence Rockstar because they were in development at the same time. Nice hentai tab, yeah. My PC is for collecting hentai and for drawing. That's about it. And ship posting. All sandboxes are open world, but not all open worlds are sandboxes. Maybe? Can we think of a non-open world sandbox? I think we could. Couldn't you say... I haven't played stuff like Goat Simulator, but don't they have like a pretty small map in which you can do a bunch of stuff? Isn't there a lot of Gmod shit that you would say is basically just a sandbox, but it isn't an open world? I feel like you need to have some amount of space on your map for it to be an open world game. But you can have like a limited amount of space and then be allowed to just do a bunch of shit in that space. I think that could be a non-open world sandbox. It's semantics at this point? Of course it is. Are we gonna call everything a fighting game because like 90% of games have fighting? Theoretically, everything is an eroge because everything can be erotic. If I'm sexually attracted to the cubes in Tetris, that's an eroge because I find it erotic to look at the Tetris cubes. Whoa, insertion. Insert the long block, sir. so hot. It's like, oh guys. Ah! Oh god. It's going in. It's gonna fucking go. I'm gonna. Oh! They're all gonna fucking. They're gonna disappear. Oh, 4 lines. Tetris. Oh. The lines disappearing is also Guro. Insert the long stick. It was meant for kids, but Nintendals take Smash 1 vs. 1 seriously. I think Nintendals being obsessed over Smash as a fighting game, and then Nintendo basically trying to stop them from playing Smash seriously at every opportunity, like banning the competitive scene and trying to put cease and desist orders versus like Smash competitions is one of the funniest shit out there. Because the company really, really hates its own fan base so much. It's so funny. And the Nintendo fans are like, we love you, Nintendo! But also we're gonna play Melee our entire life. Speaking of which, how many of you got your Nintendo Switch 2? Is there a single person in chat who got a Switch 2, guys? I heard that they're available somewhat at the local Walmarts. Fuck the Switch 2? Oh my god, how could you say that? Think about all the quality of life improvements and amazing games the Switch 2 offers. How could you disregard Nintendo? The great favor Nintendo is doing for giving you the opportunity to buy a new Nintendo console. My friend got a Switch 2 and Pringles. Walmart gives Pringles and Coke. If you think about it, potato chips are kind of the worst thing to give people when gaming. You're getting oil on your hands. You can't eat them at the same time. If you're actually going to be gaming, what you want is like gum. You don't want fucking Pringles, but they always give you like Doritos, Mountain Dew, you know? Gamer food. Like, Doritos are the worst thing to eat if you actually want to play video games. My Switch lost all of its appeal as soon as I bought a Steam Deck, but you can bing bing wahoo with your Switch. I don't think you can bing bing wahoo with your Steam Deck unless you're pirating, emulating shit, which is illegal and nobody would ever do that. Pringles used to be fire, now it's shit. I haven't eaten Pringles in a long time, but I can't imagine how it could change so much that it's shit. Did they reduce the amount of chips you get or whatever? How can Pringles lose its such popularity among my chat? Changed their recipe like 10 years ago? It's so bad. Huh. I haven't eaten Pringles in a long time. Nintendo bricked the hacker's Switch 2 already. Can they do that remotely? Or do they have to, like, find him? They have anti-tampering measures. I'm sure no one will ever be able to bypass those. This is just the usual dance. Every single year, whenever there's a new console, it's like, this one is unhackable, guys. And that shit always ends up being hacked or emulated. always. I mean, what was it? De Nouveau? Isn't that shit hacked as well, even though it's supposed to be foolproof because you literally have to log online to the servers or whatever just to get it to work. But even that is like, is being hacked and like broken. So, like, I think it takes more work or some shit, but there is a De Nouveau bypass. Yeah, you would think so, right? And also, can't you just like buy super cheap games on like the Russian key sites and stuff like that anyways? I don't know. I don't really take part in any kind of piracy because I just wait for games to be on sales legally. And for every game besides Nintendo games, that happens eventually. Not Nintendo games, though. Those, they do not go on sale. In fact, I don't understand how it's even possible for them to be that way. Like, do they like cut off supply or something? Obviously they can control the price of their own shit if it's on the store. But for the hardware copies of Nintendo games, they'd have to purposefully print not enough copies to have artificial scarcity if they want to keep prices high, right? So I assume that's what's going on. It's funny that companies pay for De Nouveau sub to keep people from pirating, but they lose profits by subbing. Yeah. Piracy is really a service problem. I don't pirate any software now because of Steam and I ain't running cracked no virus software. I don't think it has to be one or the other. Everybody is like, oh, piracy is good. No amount of piracy is a problem. Piracy is a service problem. Or piracy is bad. It's literally taking money away from people who make your video games or whatever. I think there's a healthy balance to be kept between everything. I actually think a situation in which piracy is slightly difficult, but if you put in enough effort, you can do it, is probably the good balance for stuff. Same thing for other types of media as well, where all the normies, it's too hard for normies to get their hands on it, like me, for example. But if you're tech savvy enough, you can pirate it. I think that's fine. Pretty much every industry has had record profits with that format. And on the other hand, for other stuff like Japanese manga being tens of millions of volumes being just like uploaded onto the internet, I think that's perfectly fine for publishers to shut that shit down as well. Because that's like too easy, you know? Eventually that, if you leave that stuff alone, there will be like some negative impacts. If your service is so shit, or if your product is inaccessible manga, then it's a you problem, not piracy. But manga is accessible. There's thousands of manga readers, not thousands. There's like 100 different manga reading websites where you just buy the manga normally. I'm convinced that publishers cracking down on manga, they're losing a lot of overseas sales that would have been found via scantillations. But the publishers crack down on the Japanese websites first. I know, because I want to read manga in Japanese, and it's very, very hard to find pirated Japanese raw manga online at this point, because they go after the Japanese websites first. If you want to find the English scantillation version of any manga, you can read it pretty easily, just with a quick Google search. The vast majority of publisher crackdowns are versus the Japanese market. All those official sites suck dick? No, they don't. I read all my manga on Japanese official sites every day. I mean, let's go to Jump Plus right now. If I go to Jump Plus right now, you can read all of the Jump manga. Already fucking translated for you. Why the fuck is it scroll version? I can't believe they want you to fucking scroll. Where's the options here? I'm sure there's a page spread version. But they're translating that shit in real time for you. All of the weekly stuff is being translated in real time. How the fuck do I stop the vertical? Where is this? Yeah, okay, horizontal. You're reading the same manga for free that the Japanese people are reading, with high quality 4K scans in a double page format. With really good translations, honestly. I've seen some of the translations and they're pretty high quality. And they're coming out at the same time. How do you pay for your raw manga? There's a bunch of Japanese book sites. I just went to one that I liked the interface and bought a bunch of manga. It's not really expensive because you get like 30% and 50% off coupons, and then the yen versus dollar is so much cheaper, so I bought like 20 volumes of Suzuki Nakaba, the 7 Deadly Sins manga, for reference images, and it was like $40, so What payments do they use? Visa, MasterCard? I mean, if it's not porn, you should always be able to use Visa, MasterCard. I think I use PayPal. All the payment processor bullshit only happens because of porn, so... Ultimately, I don't have much time to be reading manga. I sort of flip through stuff because, you know, just like gaming, my time is pretty restricted. I have to be drawing the entire time. Definition of porn varies. Just look at the recent Texas bill. I mean, it's whatever FBI-san wants to be porn at that time, so they can arrest you. I thought you didn't have a job. How do you not have time? Do you not see what I'm doing right here? Do you think manga is manifested out of fucking thin air? This is my job. I just don't get paid for it, bitch. This goes on forever, man. I did play video games for like 6 hours last night, so it's not. I'm not working that hard. I'm not working actual Japanese mangaka hours, which is literally like 15 hours a day forever. But it's pretty bad still. This is my job. I just don't get paid for it, so it's not a job. I get paid for it, but not enough because you guys aren't giving me enough money. Give me money now. In terms of time constraints, it's most definitely a job. And you also have to treat it like a job mentally, or else you're not going to do it. The horror about being self-employed and your hobby being your job is you can, at any time, you can just be like, oh, today I'll play some video games for only 30 minutes. And then you're playing them for, you know, 5 hours, and you're like, what the fuck, I haven't drawn anything today. You absolutely have to treat it like a job in terms of like how your mind thinks about it, or else you're not going to get anything done. You're not committed enough. You need to forbid yourself from showering like Oda. I think Oda is like truly obsessed. Someone needs to tell Oda that he can draw like 1/30th of the amount of characters that he draws, and it'll still be fine. If anything, someone needs to tell Oda that if anything, One Piece would be improved if he drew less characters in every single panel. It would be easier to read. If you say that to Oda, he will just draw more. He will. There's a ton of people on the Japanese internet that are complaining about One Piece being difficult to read recently. Ever since, like, Wano arc started. Because there's just too much shit in the page. Honestly, I think it was already bad even before the Wano arc. Like, from Dressrosa, I was having difficulty looking at the page and being like, what the fuck is going on here? Do you find modern JoJo hard to read? No, actually I don't. I think JoJo being hard to read peaked around part 7. There were parts of part 7 where I was like, what the fuck is going on here? But it's sort of to be expected because Araki is trying to visually represent shit that doesn't make any sense in the first place. But I feel like I was reading a little bit of part 8 and part 9 the other day, and I thought it was pretty well drawn in terms of like, I don't have any difficulty understanding what's going on. In fact, I was really impressed by part 9. I found part 9 to be like legitimately inspiring in terms of like what Araki is trying to do. I was just like, damn, finally some good food. Hawaii is an extremely base location for part 9. So about part 8, someone was telling me, I remember in the stream at some point, someone was saying that Soft and Wet is like extremely broken, like god class level power. I did notice that it was like an extremely abstract power, and that it's like you just take something from somebody, and it seems like it can be anything. But I only read the first 3 volumes of JoJo Leon, and the first 3 volumes are JoJo being attacked by probably the worst stand in history, in which the only way for the enemy stand to activate is if he's directly above you, and then he has you to damage like all 4 of your limbs, and then he can control your body. I'm like, Jesus Christ. How many steps do you have to clear before your stand can do anything? That's fucking awful. When would you ever use that stand? And then after that, the main character is spending time getting the shit beaten out of him by a blind girl. Also not particularly impressive. There's just like some blind girl who is somehow kicking his ass in a stand battle. I mean, I guess we shouldn't be ableist, but you'd think he would be able to beat her up as well. I always feel like Araki went mad around 2/3 of each JoJo parts. Yes, sometimes it ends up being just weird, and sometimes it ends up being weird Kino. At least it's not Notorious B.I.G. where it doesn't do anything until you die. Yeah, but on the other hand, Notorious B.I.G. is good after you die. It's not good for like a stand as an individual stand for you, but if you're part of an organization, then it might be helpful. The problem is that it's asking you to get killed. Because whatever organization you're working for is like, okay, now's the time you have to die. Like, what the fuck? Part 3, 4, 5, 7 are peak JoJo. I like 5 the best, probably. But I haven't read 8 or 9. I keep on trying to read 7, and I keep on like giving up halfway through. I'm not sure why. There's something about 7 in which I'm reading 7 and it just doesn't enter my brain. I'm not sure why I have so much difficulty enjoying 7, but I've always had a lot of difficulty with 7. I read all of 6 while I was standing up at like a bookstore. How powerful is Hank Hill's stand Propane Nightmare? I can't make any King of the Hill references because I've only watched like 20 minutes combined of King of the Hill. but I assume it's very powerful because it's a clean flame. Yes. Standing Ball was doing a JoJo reference. Time to time out Constrictor. This is Constrictor's stand powers getting timed out 59 times. What manga stores do you use for reading in Japanese again? I mean, there's just a bunch of manga that just like normal bookstores. This is called Comic Seymour, which I'm sub to. You know, I just signed up for them. They gave me a bunch of tickets and stuff. I was looking for boys love stuff there. Not that I was planning to buy it, but you know, and then you have like a bookcase and you just like just load shit normally. And it has basically, you know, if something is famous enough, they'll be able to find it. Like if I put in, I bet it has all volumes of like, say, yeah, it has all 216 volumes of Go 13, baby. Let's fucking go. I should just waste all my money buying all the volumes of Golgo. Maybe I should practice Golgo. Nice. It starts with him literally punching a woman in the face. Holy based. They have free previews for pretty much any volume. How would you beat Hirohiro Araki in a stand battle? Well, the good thing about stand battles is they always take like 20 chapters to conclude, so I'd have a lot of time to figure out what sort of stand he was using, at least. But there's just a ton of, there's a lot of other manga readers in Japanese if you can read in Japanese, if you're willing to pay money. I just think that the whole like, no, I need to get the fan scantillation stuff. Like that shit is cope. It's just like, just say you want to read shit for free. I'm sure there's English sites that have plenty of English translated better translations than the fan translations if you're willing to pay money. I genuinely believe scantillation is keeping the international manga community alive. Yeah, whatever. Ultimately, I don't think publishers spend much time going after foreign sites because they know that it's not going to be a huge part of their customer base in the first place. I mean, like, people pretending like they're huge victims because the Japanese publishers shut them down is like, are you kidding me? There's still, if I want to read anything in terms of English scan piracy at any point right now. I can just Google anything and it'll show up immediately. They unfortunately did recently. Oh no, how will I possibly read manga in English for free? Surely if I don't put in Hamabaki manga English read, I won't immediately get some website. Right fucking now. Wow, I'm shocked. How will I read manga? That took me 3 seconds. What a great scene, by the way. They're having air supper. I can see it. I can see the food that they're pretending to eat. No, he's rejected the fake table of fake food. Look for Kingdom on that site? Why do you want to read Kingdom in the first place? Kingdom is based? No, it's not. Romance of Three Kingdoms sucks. I don't give a fuck about Romance of Three Kingdoms. Alright, I'm gonna end the stream here. Why was one of your search results Yujino's ass? Why not? I probably wanted to see how muscular it was. The Kingdom manga, you idiot, not romance, which is based on Romance of Three Kingdoms. I'm saying I don't give a fuck about any Romance of Three Kingdoms content, okay? Good night.